So last night we spoke about who the Avaryanim are and who Anu are, who we are. We spoke about Avaryanim as transgressors or sinners, and we implicated ourselves in that moment by saying, yes, us too. How would it even be possible to begin a service that includes a confession that repeats itself no fewer than 5 times and not imagine that we are the ones that we're speaking about? What kind of radically irresponsible way would it be to start our service of forgiveness by saying, we permit ourselves to pray with the other sinners? A number of ways to think about Avaryanim. Avaryanim, of course, means those who are over. An Avera, growing up in the Orthodox world, an Avera is a transgression. When you go over something, when Lavor means to pass over something, right? So you've transgressed means you've crossed a line. And Avera, the Avaryanim, are those who crossed over a line that they shouldn't have crossed. They've made a mistake. One of the most beautiful renderings, though, of that word comes from Rabbi Alan Liu in his oft-read and justifiably so book, This is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared. And Rabbi Liu wrote that in his understanding of the word Avaryanim, Avar is from the word lavor or avar, which means those who pass, the things that pass. And he then said all of us are impermanent, and rooted as he was in his Zen tradition, impermanence being one of the great principles, all things pass. And all of us are Avaryanim, all of us at this moment passing, practicing what it is to let go, let go, let go. I'd like to explore a third option. When the rabbi said we're matirin, we're permitted to pray with Avaryanim, I spoke last night about a transgenerational Anu, a we that is multi-generational, that's not just here today, but from years past and years coming. Since this is the year of me telling you and having you suffer through the things that moved me this summer, my eldest son introduced me to a film that I shared with the community this past Shabbat called Interstellar. It's a sci-fi thing, and if you don't like sci-fi, forgive me. The movie's complicated, and the plot is thick, and it's convoluted, and I just want to share one little piece of it, which touched me immensely. The movie essentially revolves around an Earth in the future that is endangered and periled, and there's no future for it on this planet, on planet Earth. And the main character is a former astronaut and knows how to fly, and he's approached to go on a dangerous mission into space to find a planet that might be inhabitable for the people on Earth. And what's precarious about it is that he has 2 young children, and both of them plead with him not to go. And that's not scary, but what's known to him and to all of us who are the viewers is that there are planets or places that he might go to that might bend time in such a way that he might be on a planet for, let's say, a half hour, and that half hour is 40 years here down on Earth. And he knows full well that might happen, and he goes anyway. And sure enough, they find themselves on a planet, and something goes awry, as things will go in a movie, to make it more tense. And sure enough, he's there longer than he had expected to be. And by the time he gets back to the mothership, they've calculated that they've been down on the planet for, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours. And by the time they get back to the ship, the remaining members of the ship say to him, it's been 30 years since we've seen you. 30 years, it was a half hour for him, and 30 years passed. And something that I didn't share with you, but here, during the first couple of months of the mission, his 2 young children were sending videos out, and he was responding to those videos. But once he went dark for 30 years, they didn't know what happened to him. But they kept sending videos. And so the main character sits down in a chair And he's told that there are 30 years of video messages from your children. And you see him sitting in the chair. The camera focuses on Matthew McConaughey, which is not so bad. And the videos start to come in. Hey, Dad, I just graduated high school. Hey, Dad, just got a new job. Don't know if you hear this. Are you there? We haven't heard from you. Where are you? We're not giving up. See you next week, Dad. Hey, Dad, I met a girl. She's amazing. I wish you could meet her. And then, hey, Dad, you're a grandfather. And he's weeping, weeping. And I was weeping. I was thinking about all of those conversations that we wanted to have with ancestors, with parents, with mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters. All of the videos that we send, wondering if they can hear us, wishing they were here along the way with us. Hey, Dad. Hey, Mom. And what was so painful, of course, for the viewer is that we know that he is hearing them. And we know that they don't know that he's hearing them. And he knows they don't know that he's hearing them. And he wants so desperately to break through and to be able to touch them and say, I got it. I'm still here. You haven't heard from me for a long time, but I'm here. You just can't see me. I think about that, of course, because I'm human like all of you. Think about those things, but especially on Yom Kippur. I feel like saying to Arnie Meyer, who used to dance over here, Arnie, look, we're back together, Arnie. And Evelyn, look at us singing. Just standing over here by the Torah to say to Howie Berwick and to Laurel Berwick, we miss you. And there's something in me that thinks that they're screaming back saying, we hear you. We see how successful you've become. We see the good works that you're doing. We see how hard you're trying. We see how alone you feel. We're celebrating with you. And they know that we don't really believe it that much. So I was thinking about all this the other day, and in rapid succession, within 20 minutes, 2 people said to me, I just watched the movie Coco. Just randomly. Person in an elevator, and then I got out of the elevator, another person. I said, hi. He said, I was just watching the movie Coco. This is loco. It was crazy. Have people seen the movie Coco? I realize I'm giving you a lot of homework over this Chag. Like, all of a sudden, people like love Coldplay. I never heard Coldplay before. And then last night, you're like, I'm going to go watch The Bear. So I come to Romemu and get your media training. It's like, what do you need for the year? It's a remarkable movie. It's really not for kids, even though it's an animated film, but it's really for adults. And there's a young character named Miguel who's a passionate musician, and somehow he's transported to the land of the dead. Do people see this, remember this? And there he discovers that the souls of his ancestors could only visit the living if their photos are placed on an ofrenda, on an altar, where their memory is cherished. That only when we place the photo onto an altar do they feel like they can show up in the world here with us. just an amazing thing to think of my teacher, Reb Zalman, trying to speak to me from beyond, or the great-grandfather that I was named for who perished in the Holocaust, Chaim, trying to say something to me in the present moment, or any of the other ancestors whose memories are on the altar of our hearts at this moment that we think about, our mothers, our aunts and uncles. And that Yizkor, this moment for Yizkor, is a way of saying, we're bringing you here with us. We're saying explicitly, we're listening for your little hints, for the ways in which you're trying to communicate to us. And that we're going to try our best to believe, sometimes against all belief, that we're sending these prayers and these catch-ups with them into the abyss, but that you're watching. You're watching. I think there's something profoundly lost when we forget that truth, or when we abandon that belief. There's something so important in our tradition about the persistence of the past into the present for the future's sake. And of course, I think about that every year because with each and every year, my own parents are getting older. And each and every year, I tell myself, next year, I'm going to be praying with my father. I have such vivid memories as a child of the boredom of Yom Kippur. Even in Orthodox circles, I mean, honestly, you're not missing anything. It's also boring there too. It's equally spread across the Jewish landscape. But I remember vividly those long Yom Kippur. Especially under my father's talit. Not everyone here was lucky enough to have had an experience of being with a parent in that way, and not everyone who will be remembering someone this morning will be remembering a parent, but someone with whom you had either incredible finished business or maybe even painfully unfinished business. And those memories are real. And revisiting them is powerful and important. Permission is given to allow your body and your heart to soften in the presence of that longing, in the presence of that ambiance of memory as it wafts over you, to feel the touch of a hand or the caress of a cheek, to hear a voice or to see eyes, to hug, and to be in the presence of the past because it's there all the time. All the time. We just need the right music and the right setting, and it comes out. So last night we said it was messy. I went on thinking maybe my sermon was messy. Like, did people get what I was saying? Did you get what I was saying last night? I don't know. We're in the kitchen now. The prayers and all the things that we have to do are out of the way. They lifted us, they held us, they reminded us, they bound us. But here we come to the heart of Yom Kippur. Yizkor is the heart. And it prepares us in some profound way to know that just as they passed, so will we. We are all Avaryanim, passing through. We don't know. Right, Marlena? We don't know. But when we sang Anu Matirin Litpalel Im Avaryanim, we are released in our praying with those who pass. We're saying that we can release the past as we touch it. We can heal it. We can hold it. It can empower us. It can do all those things. So as we said last night, come, come, whoever you are, we're saying at this moment, come, come from the other side. Come, come from the other side. Mother, father, sister, brother, friend, Yitzi. Come, come from the other side, Avaryanim, those who have passed over, and bring your presence here this morning. Be with us now as we pray with you. Touch our souls. Help us feel your presence. Help us say the right words or none at all to feel that what needs to be finished can be finished. In Romemu, we have a custom of inviting everyone to stay in the room, if it's possible, for Yizkor, given that the practice is not only about those who have lost loved ones. But I grew up with a different practice. I left the room if my parents were living and others were living. And so whatever your practice is, the space now is a space of transition between before Yizkor and Yizkor itself. We invite all of you to have a journey that is a release. Please rise.